Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into something a bit counterintuitive, maybe.
Yeah, the idea that working a job you don't really like can actually have benefits.
Exactly. We all chase that dream job, right? The one we're passionate
Of
about.
course, that's the goal.
But what if those jobs, the ones that are less than ideal, actually give us something valuable?
Well, that's what we're digging into today. Our mission, you could say, is exploring those hidden positives.
We're talking things like appreciating life more, resilience, maybe even finding motivation. Let's jump in.
Okay, so one of the big things the sources point to is this psychological thing called the contrast effect.
Contrast effects. So how does that work here?
Well, basically, your brain judges things by comparing them.
Yeah.
So if your job is, say, really stressful or micromanaged,
Yes.
then the simple feeling of not being at work, that freedom when you clock out, it feels amazing. Much better
Yeah.
than it might otherwise.
Ah, I see. So the bad job makes the good parts of life seem even better. Like a really peaceful evening at home suddenly feels like pure bliss.
Precisely. That disliked job becomes a negative anchor. It makes your free time, hobbies, time with loved ones feel extra special.
That makes sense. It kind of gives you perspective too, right? Maybe small annoyances outside work seem less like a big deal compared to what you deal with daily.
Exactly. You might find yourself more grateful for simple things. It subtly shifts your outlook,
Yeah.
makes you appreciate what you do have.
Okay, so appreciating life more. What else? These jobs often sound pretty tough.
They definitely can be. And that's where resilience comes in. Resilience is just your ability to, bounce back from difficulty.
And a tough job forces you to develop that.
It really does. You have to find ways to cope with the stress, the negativity, maybe the sheer boredom,
Like taking proper breaks or maybe finding things outside work that really recharge you, mindfulness perhaps.
all of those. And learning to set boundaries becomes crucial, like actually switching off work mode, not checking emails constantly.
Yeah, protecting your personal time. That takes practice.
It does. And you develop mental toughness, that grit to just keep going, dealing with a demanding boss or feeling unappreciated.
Or just grinding through monotonous tasks.
Right, navigating all that builds a kind of resilience that's super valuable later on. And any situation, really. Communication under pressure, focus. Those are transferable skills.
That's a good point. Okay, here's another angle, the practical side. Sometimes a job you dislike just pays the bills.
Absolutely. Financial stability is a huge factor. Health insurance, a steady income.
And that stability, even from a job you don't love, can actually enable you to pursue your real passions outside of work.
Yes, it lets you afford those art classes or the gear for your hobby or travel. There's a very clear separation then. Work is the means. Life outside work is for fulfillment.
So you're not expecting the job itself to be fulfilling, maybe. It's just the enabler.
Pretty much. And that can lead you to be more intentional about enjoying your non-work time because that's where the real joy is coming from.
Okay, interesting. What about skills within the job itself? Surely you learn things even if you dislike the role.
Definitely. Sometimes you're forced to get creative. Maybe you have to learn new software just to make a tedious task bearable or find workarounds for inefficient systems.
Or you get really good at dealing with difficult clients because you have to, just to get through the day.
Exactly. Conflict resolution, better communication, time management when things are repetitive. These skills develop out of necessity.
And you're still meeting people, right? Colleagues, clients, networking still happens.
It does. And those connections can be surprisingly useful down the line. Plus, think about it. If you can still perform well and be effective in a job you don't like,
That says a lot about your work ethic to a future employer.
it really does. It shows resilience and professionalism.
Now, you mentioned motivation earlier. How does hating your job motivate you? Seems counterintuitive again.
Well, it's a powerful catalyst for change. Job dissatisfaction makes it crystal clear what you don't want in a career.
Ah, so it helps you define your needs better for the next job. Like, okay, definitely no more micromanagement, or I need more autonomy.
Precisely. That contrast clarifies your goals. The unhappiness becomes a strong push factor, making you actively search for something that aligns better with your values.
It overcomes the inertia of just staying put.
Right. And think about the problem solving. Bad jobs are often full of problems, difficult colleagues, impossible workloads, broken processes.
So you become a firefighter, basically, learning to handle crises.
In a way, yeah. You have to get creative, resourceful. Adapting to constantly changing priorities or inefficient systems builds serious flexibility. These are skills for life, not just work.
And all this struggle, does it teach you about yourself, too?
Hugely. Navigating dissatisfaction forces self-reflection. You'll learn your own limits, your capacity for patience, maybe where your communication skills need work.
You figure out what truly matters to you. Is it the company culture, autonomy, ethical work?
Exactly. It builds self-awareness, emotional intelligence. There's even a concept called post-traumatic growth, where overcoming adversity can lead to greater appreciation, strength, even a new sense of purpose.
And AB? Empathy for others going through similar things.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
When you've been there, when you've felt that dissatisfaction firsthand, you understand what others are experiencing.
It creates a connection.
It does. And people who've had those tough jobs might actually become more supportive colleagues or managers later because they get it.
So, wrapping this up, well, everyone obviously wants a job they love.
Yeah, that's still the ideal.
A job you dislike isn't just wasted time. It can actually be, well, surprisingly useful. Building resilience, perspective, funding passions, developing skills.
Even pushing you towards finding a better career fit in the long run.
It's a different way to look at those tough periods.
Which brings us to a final thought to leave you with. What if we reframed how we see those disliked jobs? If we look at them not just as something to endure, but as maybe unexpected training grounds, could that shift in perspective actually help us find hidden value in those experiences?
Something to definitely think about.